All right, what's up, guys? Got another podcast today. It's going to be some unpopular opinions in powerlifting and then just some other stuff Treyton and I have prepared. So you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Treyton Fender. I've been powerlifting coaching for about 2 years now, personal training for another 2 years. I run S4, which is Silent Sabotage Strength Systems, and just going to keep it short and brief, nothing too crazy. We can get right into it.
Oh, that's what the S4 comes from. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Okay. We can just start with these questions we already went over. Start at the bottom. Switch bench to touch and go and deadlift to allow hitching. So we're going to talk about this one a little, but I guess, what did you think about the hitching?
The hitching, I could kind of get behind. I think you're still grinding through the lift. It's not like I feel like you don't give up the lift when you're like, it's not an advantage to hitch, I feel like, because you're still grinding, you're still pulling. I can see it's not very aesthetic, but you're still pushing through the lift. I don't think it should disqualify it.
You remember, I don't know if you remember this, remember whenever Atwood lost to like Carl, whatever his name is, a couple years ago at Worlds? No? Okay, basically it was like on his third deadlift, he locked it out, but like his knees, like when he's like halfway up, which is a little bit soft, and they said it was like a hitch, but like it was just like he lost balance a ton of it, so it kind of looked like a hitch. It like clearly didn't help. It probably hurt him, and he basically lost the knee because of that. Although Carl probably would have pulled the third anyway. But like an example like that, I think that's something that maybe shouldn't be allowed. But like the full-on ramping, like you said, that's just too much.
No, it can't be a ramp. Whereas the hitch, I can understand. It's not I don't think a lot of people could get behind that, but I understand where it comes from.
I do think we'd see like some lifter add like 20 keys to their deadlift. Like, what about Jesus? He has like lockout issues. Would that help? You know, like you can't like rest on your thighs, but like someone could probably find some way to game it and get at least like 10 keys on the deadlift, maybe. But then I also kind of think once that happens, grip issues would probably become more of a thing. So I think it would probably negate some of that. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, bench to touch and go. Honestly, I don't have an issue with this. I think the issue though would be you can't let people like just bounce it off, so you just have to do a soft touch. But then I think like Jesus probably couldn't even hit elbow depth. Like a lot of people like that, or some people with short arms. I saw
with touch and go.
Yeah, I saw like someone do a sink the other day, and they hit elbow depth with a big arch, and it was comparing like a basically flat back, close grip bench that was a soft touch, and they could not hit elbow depth. So I think some lifters would just get screwed, but I don't think pausing is super necessary.
So do you think that pausing could stay for the people that need it for elbow depth? Because if you were to allow that and people can't hit elbow depth with it, you still have some people who need to pause in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. True. Yeah. So you don't get like the momentum. I can see that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. IPF fumbled the execution, but the corniness of some of these lifters needs to be reined in.
Yeah, I mean, there's extremes that piss everybody off that people think are corny. But I also think powerlifting needs to allow people to express themselves when things like when good things happen, you're excited. You can be able to express that.
I hate to name an example, bro. I think Delaney seems like a super nice guy. But every time I watch him lift, Delaney Wallace, when he like dances before the bar, I just want to rip my eyes out, bro. If I have the option, I skip through. However, I don't think we should necessarily ban that. I think it's goofy, but if he wants to do it, he can do it.
Yeah. It being corny doesn't jeopardize the lift, right?
Yeah.
Let people be people.
Yeah. Okay, most people don't hydrate properly before lifting weights. I mean, I think that's an easy agree for me.
You told me that you barely drink water.
Bro, okay, I've had like 40 ounces of milk this morning, though.
That's still absurd to me. Like, as someone who makes sure I get 20 ounces straight off rip in the morning, to not even drink any water.
Well, bro, okay. I had 40 ounces of milk, and then I also had, it was about like 10 ounces of water with a trial roll.
With a what?
A trial roll.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's a little better. Yeah. I would still try to get a little more water, but
bro, milk's like 90% water though. Okay, I get it. It seems weird. I get it.
It's
on a cut, I drink water.
If it works for you, it works.
So I probably drink like half a gallon of water a day. If I'm bulking though, bro, literally like no water.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Just the milk replaces it.
But I like I feel like it's a very low hanging fruit for a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
If you come in and you're underperforming and I ask you if you're getting enough water and you say no, that's the lowest hanging fruit. That's the easiest. So I think that's one of the easiest things to fix if someone comes to me and says their session is shit. And then I usually recommend to most of my athletes to get low sodium salt because it has potassium and salt in it.
Oh, nice.
And so it's just a very cheap, shitty tasting electrolyte packet, pretty much.
Dude, you ever have athletes that they'll be doing a lift like 6 p.m. and you're like asking about their nutrition or whatever? They're like, I haven't eaten anything. I haven't had a sip of water today. Like, bro, that's like not even for lifting. Like, how are you alive?
Yeah.
How are you a person, bro? How people doing that? They're like, my joints hurt me. I have one lifter, Omar. You know, if you're listening to this, you know he does better now. He was like, dude, I don't drink water like at all. I was like, dude, you should do that. He's my body really hurts. So you're like super dehydrated. That's why I gained like 10 pounds in a week from just drinking water. I'm not kidding, bro. I could show you in his training log. That's like actually 10 pounds.
That's absurd.
Yeah, like, dude, like that's gonna help you substantially. It's
Well,
like a gallon of water missing from your body.
And like you said, joints just feeling better in general. If your joints feel better, your squats are gonna feel better. Pushing through pain has never been super easy for me or made my lifts any easier. So low hanging fruit.
Do you do the thing? I can like judge my hydration before lift by like my muscle fullness almost. Like you wake up, you feel a little flatter, you get stuff on you, and you just feel like there's like something there.
Yeah, I notice it more when I'm cutting though, because I feel like the lows are a little bit more low. So when I do feel good, it's a little bit easier to base like a day that I feel good. Whereas if I'm just full all the time because I'm bulking, I don't notice it as much.
No, that's super fair. Keaton says, yeah, I'm still here, bro. Yeah. Keaton, the least hype lifter ever, says doing out-of-pocket shit, approaching a bar and leaving a bar after a set is cringy. Thoughts?
The DSM crew could get behind that. All of us.
Yeah. Okay, well, hold on. We got to define what's cringy and not. Because, like, I think, okay, I'm not trying to like demean people if they're not as strong. Because, like, it can be just as meaningful to you. But I think if you were, like, going for a 900-pound squat and you're going off the bar, even if it's a gym lift, and you're fucking, like, screaming, like, it can definitely get weird. You're saying some weird shit.
Yeah.
If you go up, you scream, you walk it out, you hit the hardest lift of your life, it's 900 pounds, you rack it, and you, like, yell again, I think that's sick.
Yeah.
But it gets to a point. Like,
this goes back to the people, let people be people. But like you said, it gets to a point. I had my coach, Luke Arrowwood. He was very zen when he lift. He'd walk up, he'd get his lift done, he'd deadlift 804, and he'd walk away. He wasn't very hyped.
I'm not like that.
So I can see it both ways. I like getting hyped every now and again. There's other times where I just don't give a shit. So it just kind of depends on the person and how they can approach it. But what he's talking about is not.
Yeah, it's not just
no. It's people walking up to the bar, humping it, having fun with it. So.
Have you ever seen me in the gym? Like, this is getting kind of cringe.
No.
Okay, I haven't got too cringe, bro. It's also different if you're in like commercial gym versus like a home gym, you know. But or even a meet. You're like we talked about that. If you're like pulling for the win, you're like in the crowd hype and going crazy. Like, yeah, sure. But yeah, it gets to a point when you're doing a sub-max RP4 single and then you toss your belt and smack the camera.
No, absolutely. I think there's a whole other topic we could get on about it, but kind of like your mental stimulation before lifts and how that can affect training, like week 1 through 4. But there's a whole conversation that could be had on it. But again, I don't think that's what he's getting at in that question.
No, I don't think so either. Actually, though, if you're going for like a huge car, how have you getting? Like, I like to me, if I'm not like almost in tears, like if it's like a huge PR, not just like not anything, like a max, like it's been like 6 months, I'm getting as hyped as possible. Really? Like I'm like almost in tears, hands down.
I don't think I have anything like that to tap into. I get pretty hyped. I take way too much caffeine and put on, a song that's hitting for that day. But other than that, it's nothing crazy.
Yeah, but I do because I think it's fun. I think it's just
absolutely, yeah.
I feel like like the little Mario, like the Super Mario like rainbow emoji. Not rainbow emoji, but I'm saying little rainbow like character. Where it feels like that. You just feel like you feel like invincible and you go tear your hamstring. But I will say, if that's just not how you lift, like if you don't think that's fun, if you're like forcing it, I think that's the issue where people like they see Russ with his chain in his mouth and then do something after, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna copy that. I need to get the bandana and this, and I need to like just do weird stuff and copy someone. It's forced, so it's not just you. I think that's
Yeah.
what gets weird.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying.
But I also like, I think I've only screamed at DSM. I've gone for 6 months. I think I've only screamed in there like once. And it was like empty.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Do you think it would change if you're at a home gym though?
Yeah, for sure.
You think you'd be more corny?
Oh, dude, I was tweaking in the home gym. I'd be so corny. I wouldn't be corny though. I would just yell a lot.
Okay.
That was also like the Mike Mentor high intensity era for me though.
Uh,
So you're kind of nervous, like, dang, bro, I squatted 605 for 5 last time. I got it at 6. Like I got it at 6. So you're pretty nervous. You just like override that by just
got it.
getting hype, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, nothing crazy. Like you're just playing some cringy anime at it in your ears. Totally super cringy, bro. Once my dad was down there with me and my beats were dead, so I had to put up a speaker and I was like, this guy's gonna disown me. This is crazy. But yeah, I'd get super hyped up.
Okay. I think when I was a younger lifter, I got a little bit more like my first technically my first meet, I did a backyard meet before that, but it was, I had hit 584, I think, for my last single, and then ended up pulling 573 and missed my next one after that. Got super pissed off, threw my belt, stomped off. Looking back at it, I'm super ashamed of how I acted. I'm like, I'm never doing that shit again, and I have it.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Once after missing a deadlift at the home gym, I snapped my beats in half. And after I was like, bro, what have I done?
It's just not worth it.
I was also like 17, you know?
Yeah.
Just a kid. I was just so angry, and I was like, oh, this is so cringy, and I just haven't done that since. But that's also an issue though. If you get super hyped for a lift, you miss the lift, you're just liable to be acting like a dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you gotta tuck your tail between your legs and then do the walk of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do that once, you're okay. If you're over the age of like 21, can't be doing that. Sometimes kids are just not emotionally mature. It's okay, but
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Ban equipped.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah. If they were like, I get it. If you want to do equipped, cool. I just think equipped is so dumb that if they were like, Colton, responsibility falls on you to better the sport. Ban equip button, equip keep going button. I would genuinely hit the ban equip button. I really would, because that's how much I hate it.
So equip. Okay, would you say the same about wraps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I ban wraps, bro.
Got it. Because wraps is separate from equip, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like raw with wraps, but
yeah.
Well, I think the big issue is just I'd also ban wraps because I don't think wraps are super stupid. I just want everyone to compete with the same standard. I'd also ban deadlift bars and
Really?
Yeah, I would ban deadlift bars.
Okay.
I'm also like the lifter that gets like barely anything out of deadlift bar. So I'm like, these other people got an advantage on me, bro.
But you train with a deadlift bar because that's what I
compete on. Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I just, with the deadlift bar thing, going off on that tangent, I don't know if I ever noticed a difference to comp standard. Like if I throw straps on, I notice a big difference in strength. But without straps, I'm just more inconsistent on a deadlift bar.
Without strap? Oh, yeah.
And so I would like the stiff bar because my technique is more consistent and it feels better on average.
See, I can use like pound plates, fingertip grip, straps, kabuki, everything. I still don't get that much out of it.
Damn. All right.
I know. I mean, I get some. Like I might get like 30 pounds, but like nothing crazy. Some people will literally get like 200 pounds out of that setup.
Yeah, no chance. There's a kid. He's local. He's done the DSM. I can't think right now. The Halloween week. The Halloween deadlift. That kid, he was 16 or 17, pulling 700 plus pounds. Just has the leverages of a god. I can't even think of what his name is, but he's wearing a Where's Waldo costume, and he beat Max Schaefer actually.
Damn.
And he was 16. But best leverages I've ever seen.
That's tough.
Gets a lot out of the suit.
If I was Max, I'd be super pissed.
Yeah.
Max he's got a relief potential too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. This is actually Max's question. No one cares about how much you lift if you don't look like you lift. Start us off. I think it depends. So there's two ways you can take this. If you're just really fat or if you're really skinny. I think if you were really skinny but you bench 600, it's cool. But I've never seen someone that's really skinny bench 600. I don't think that exists.
No.
I think he's more so, if you're talking about the skinny thing, I think he's more so referring to like if you're really light and you weigh like 120 pounds, but you have like a decent dots. I would agree with that. I said it before my story. I think dots, unless you are like a truly elite lifter, or even the 59s. I don't think the 59s are that impressive, to be honest.
Hmm.
They're getting there, but like, not trying to throw shade, but like Wasker, I think he squats in meat like 485, benches like maybe 315, and pulls like 600. I think there's a certain point where you just get way stronger than that. But I'm like, I bench more than that. Like that's not that crazy, no matter your body weight. Like just gain weight and get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just a hater because it is more difficult to do that at a lighter weight, but it's also because there's so much less competitive. If I saw a 131, I think that's 59, doing like an 800 kilo total, which would be like the equivalent dots to a lot of other classes, I would think that's crazy. So probably a lot of it is just not that competitive.
Well, those guys are also hobbits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are they? You can't really discredit them because they're usually pretty jacked, right? The short people.
Oh, well, some of them are like Wasker, I don't know how tall he is, but he's just like a pretty skinny. I mean, no offense to him. He's like, he's got some muscle. Like he's just like a very lean, skinnier, shorter guy. He's not like a little legit.
Gotcha. No, I've seen a couple of guys where they're just built like aliens, but have a shit ton of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I can't even think of what his name is. Super short torso, super long arms.
Like Lacau. There's like some like Bodie Lacau. There's like a family. They're just like built to deadlift. Here, you can keep talking. I'm gonna
Yeah, maybe. But essentially those guys, it's like they look like they lift. I guess it's kind of getting away from the original conversation. But when you say 59s, I automatically kind of think that there's 59s that are jacked. They can't help that they're 59s because they're just built to be smaller framed individuals who are jacked. So it's like,
yeah, I know what you mean. But then what about the super heavyweight thing? I think that's maybe what Max is going for more.
Yeah, I don't know. I think having like when you have your Dan Griggs, who was just on your show, like that dude is jacked. He looks insane, and he also lifts an insane amount of weight. So I respect people like that because they look great, they perform great. But then you get your super heavyweights who I feel probably don't really care what they eat, probably don't care how they fuel, don't care about some of the smaller things, and they just lift more weight and gain more weight at the same time, and it's less impressive to me.
Yeah, so I would agree. I think, I mean, I don't think Jesus is a good example, like we talked about, because Jesus looks like he lifts.
Yes.
He's the most jacked dude any gym he goes to. But I do think, like, even though, like, Cal Curve is untested, like, dude, there's something so impressed about that. You see him, he's just, like, so jacked in lifting similar weights. I do think, even though he's untested, I think that's way more impressive, because you would see him in real life and be like, holy shit. Versus you could see, not Jesus, but some other super heavies and be like, I mean, it's an easy cope for people too. Yeah. So a lot of it is just like it's powerlifting, so your physique doesn't matter. But there is a big aspect of truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as a human, you should want to look good. I don't if you're strong, cool. Yeah. But if you don't look strong, what's it matter?
Where's the point though? Because like sometimes I'll be bulking and like I start getting comments be like, dude, I won't even be that fat, bro. I'm just like I just drank like half a gallon of milk, so I'm like super bloated. Go lift, I'm a little fluffier than normal. People be like, doesn't matter because you're a fat ass. And I'm like, dog, I am like not that fat. Chill. I'm like 20% body fat. And I'll get those comments. But at the same time, it is somewhat true. Because I'm like, if I'm leaner, lifting even a little bit less, there is some aspect of that that's like now you're checking two boxes. Even if it's not relevant to powerlifting, just for the average person who's never going to be an elite lifter, it definitely is cooler.
Yeah. And I've noticed for myself, and some of my athletes as well, that when they focus on a little bit more cardio and they focus on just being healthier in general, having a better heart health, it'll translate over to their top end strength as well.
Yeah. I have a friend who's like genuinely probably 8% body fat, like healed, bro. Like you go to a bodybuilding contest 4 weeks out, any time of the year, and like hit 405 on bench for a double, does like beltless sleeve. Yeah, I think he uses sleeves. Like it's a beltless high bar with like a 25-pound plate below his heels with like 585. Does conventional like 5 plates for like 12 reps or something. And like that does add so much more of a cool factor than if you were like, even if you're the same weight and you're just kind of fat, like me, and you're benching 4 or 5, like that's so I bench more than him, but like if you're benching the same amount, that's way cooler. Like that adds such a cool factor.
Yes. Like being veined out. Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. But I will add too, Max is very strong and looks like it too. So
Also started jujitsu, so
Oh, he did?
extra points in my book.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that in the story.
Yeah.
Does he do it with you?
No,
Just somewhere else?
you should, but no.
Okay, that'd be cool. High frequencies of the comp. Oh wait, hold on. Actually, I have one more point. What do you think about people that like are really good at powerlifting? They got a big bench, but like they don't train arms. They just have tiny arms. Maybe they have a big chest.
Good for them.
Like,
They're
yeah.
efficient, you know. I don't think you need big arms. If you're a power lifter and strictly a power lifter, carry on.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. I'm like, it makes it so much cooler if you look jacked. It just does. I even thought about too. I'm like, technically, you'd fit in a weight class better if you just don't train arms, don't train calves, don't really train back. You know, you lose like 10 pounds of muscle, you can be in a slower weight class. I'm like, bro,
Yeah,
I can't do that.
the general population trainer in me is like, you don't want to have too many imbalances. You want to kind of a fully rounded physique to where you're not going to run into issues down the road. But
unless you're literally breaking the all-time world record, I don't think that's the move you should be going for.
No.
Yeah. High frequencies of the comp lift is overrated for the average lifter.
Yes, and I don't think that's a conversation really.
I think, yeah, no, I agree. Especially for the average lifter, huge. I think the average lifter, if they're just like, this is a hobby, like, bro, 1x squat, 1x deadlift, 2x bench. If they're just like genuinely just pure hobby, that would probably maximize their enjoyment. Yeah.
I think even for my power lifters, I'm going 2 squat, 3 bench, 1 deadlift, maybe 2 if they need the technique touches. It just feels off. But outside of that, I'm not doing. I might add a bench day if what they're telling me they need it. But I think the high frequency, like I seen something absurd the other day, bro. It was 5 squat, 6 bench, 3 deadlift or something absurd like that.
Like who? Like someone that
I'm in a group chat with some boys and they sent this person split into me, but I think that's absurd.
I agree. Also, if you're a guy, you almost certainly can't handle that.
He was a guy.
Was he strong?
Probably. I don't know. I can try to find it for you, but
I don't know. I think there's a reason. Okay, so the average lifter is way different. For the average lifter, yeah. If this is genuinely just a hobby and you're like, I have a wife and kids and a full-time job, unless you like really want to invest a lot of time in the gym, sure. Like if you're doing over 2x squat deadlift and over like 3, maybe 4x bench, if you just like really enjoy it, I think that's crazy. I think you should get a new coach because your coach shouldn't be trying to maximize it if this is just a hobby.
Yeah, agreed.
But if you're like a person that's like, no, dude, I love lifting and I have a lot of free time and you wanna try squatting every day for a while and you just really like lifting, I mean, go for it. But from a coaching perspective, definitely not needed.
I think the high frequency stuff like that, it's a star that burns bright and fast.
Yeah.
They do it for a short period of time. They might get, 20 keys from just touching it consistently. And then all of a sudden you see that dwindle off.
Yeah.
But you're going to run into overuse issues. You're going to run into blowing out a quad. You're going to come into something to where it's probably the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
I also think that largely works early in a career. And there's a reason. Let me see.
There's that split.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. That's crazy.
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't know that's what you're talking about. Yeah, that's wild. I will also say that person has made 0 progress on their squat in the last like 4 or 5 years since working with other coach when they're squatting half of that frequency. Deadlift wise, okay, actually they put up like the same I don't want to talk too much because I don't know what we're talking about. They were doing way less of a different coach and they have made like essentially 0 progress since doing that. I will say that much.
Doing more, they made 0 progress?
Correct. Since upping their frequency time. That's all I'm gonna say.
I feel like there's other variables and other levers you can pull before you start pulling the frequency lever. I agree. I don't think that's the first one you should jump to, and I for sure don't think you should crank that bitch to the max.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, you can try it, but that person it is not working for. So like this isn't the method.
Yeah. Why are you working hard just to work hard? To say you can squat 5 times in a week?
That was an epiphany I had. And I was like, I like training. So it's really tempting. Like and it works when you're really young to be like, oh, sick. I want to bench more. I like benching. I'll bench every day. And it'll work for a while. And then you get to a point where it's not working, but you're accustomed to that and you like it because you've just been able to force progress for a while. And then you're like, okay, well, do I like doing this just to train or do I like training because I like progressing? And if you just like train, cool, go do SPD daily. But if it's working, sick. But if it's not working and you like progress, then you got to change it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it makes sense, right? Like in a sport,
Mhm.
you need to be as specific as possible. And the most specificity you can get is squat, bench, and deadlift, right? But going back to kind of the star metaphor, it's like those burn bright and quick, and then people fizzle out of the sport real fast.
Yeah, I agree.
So
And, like, it clearly works for Agata, but are there any other lifters to do that? Like, especially on the men's side, because I'm thinking from a men's
No.
perspective. Like, bro, Jesus, like IPF, Jesus, Rondell, Anthony, all the 93s, Joe, Perk. Like, I've talked to like a lot of their coaches too. None of them are doing anything even remotely, not even half of that.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason.
Yeah. No, I think you could make it work, but the dials that you'd have to turn to make that work, the training would not be very fun on average.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I did want to pick your brain on this though. This one I've been thinking of more. What do you think of just if a lifter's like, I'm all in, they have plenty of time, maybe they're at a high level trying to get better. You're like, okay, can't really do more volume. You seem to make good progress here. Maybe they do like, say they do like 7 sets a week with squat. And you're like, okay, you plateaued. You normally squat 3 times a week. What do you think about just keeping the volume the exact same, but just spreading it out? Because I've been trying that method more with lifters because Joe Stanek said he does that. That's definitely something I did earlier in my career that I've kind of gotten away with because I was kind of like, okay, frequency correlates with a lot of volume. Usually you start adding days, start adding volume. It's like, oh, you don't need that much volume. So lower volume, lower frequencies. But I'm kind of getting back to testing that out, makes sense. I definitely think there's a lot of downsides. Even like you're trying to deadlift 3 times a week. At a certain point, your warm-ups are going to start taking away where you just can't do as much effective volume if you have to warm up more.
yeah.
And that's going to count towards something. But I think there's some benefit to it. But if you take it too far, especially like a bench, you can definitely bench 4 times a week and spread out your volume. If your lifter can handle it, might be worthwhile if they're stalled. But on the squat and deadlift, especially once you get pretty strong, I think that's usually not very effective.
I think it's a technique that should be used in the short term because I've noticed a lot of people that when you stick to something like that, you have this curve where it does shoot up from getting those extra touches, but it levels off eventually and sometimes starts regressing just because you almost get too strong for that many touches. And so you have to dial it back in order to keep progressing because you just can't handle that workload anymore.
I also think it only works for like 10% of people.
Yeah.
Because the other people, they just simply can't do, they just can't handle the workload. I have like one lifter in mind that like, bro could probably pull 4 times a week. I mean, I have to dial back in the tendencies a little bit. Just genuinely responds different to train. Just handles like triple the volume as my average athlete does. We try pulling back, doesn't work. He just eats it up for some reason.
Yeah.
So and he's not doing anything crazy. He has like his secondary day is like 2 sets. Granted, they're like heavy sets. They're with like 86% for like singles.
Okay.
Primary day is like a single. I mean, it progresses over the block, but just say like 92% or something on average. And then he has like 2 back off sets with maybe like 80% for sets of like 3. That's RDL set 2 failure after. That's way more volume, like way more intensity, especially than most people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we could lower the intensity, so that would be pretty effective. Have him pull at least 3 times a week, make it work. But I mean, he's making good progress. Why would I?
Yeah, I don't think that it would make sense to change if it's working right now and you're on 2 times a week. Like, could he handle it? Yeah, maybe. But then you're trying to piece the puzzle back together after you change it a little bit. And I don't think that's worth it.
No, I agree. Yeah, especially if you're making progress. That's a good point. Like, you have to piece the puzzle back together. Why would you? But even like most of my athletes on deadlift, even on squat, decent amount of them, like 3 times a week seems crazy. Like 2 times a week and like the secondary day on deadlift for probably like half my lifters is really light.
Yeah.
Like it's like maybe like 80% for like a 2x1. Like it's basically just like practice. And like if we split it up, it just wouldn't make sense.
I noticed with my lifters that are deadlifting twice a week, it's more to help them find their hip height. Like a lot of them just have inconsistent hip height. And so that's why I try to introduce that second day to where they can just get more touches and more practice at it. But I end up capping them way lighter than they want to go. And they're like, why are you capping me so light? And it's like, because this isn't the day that I want you to overload. This is literally just for you to practice something that you're not good at.
Yeah, I agree. So I also think once you get more advanced, you usually don't need that skill practice. I think frequency sounds good in theory a lot of the times. And then in practice, you're like, oh, I'll get way more exposure, way more practice. A lot of times just like it just takes so long to recover. You're not actually missing out on much.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something to be said for, I think a lot of times coaches are like 4x4, that looks nice. 5x5, it looks nice. Programming like a 2x5, that seems weird. So a lot of times, sometimes people maybe do too low a frequency just because it sounds weird. But like, if someone's doing 4 sets of squats a week, you could easily, or say someone's doing like 6 sets of squats a week, you could do 3 sets in each day, or you could do 2 sets 3 times a week. Maybe there is like a 1% benefit that we could be getting by just not being like 2x3. That sounds weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing 4 sets of squat in a week right now.
Yeah.
I'm literally doing a top set on my primary day and then doing pause squats on my secondary day.
Dude, I'm doing 1 set right now.
That's injury though, right? Like,
yeah. But granted, I've made a lot of progress doing that.
I don't think it has to be as fancy as some people make it out to
I don't
be.
think so either.
So,
no reason to ever do more than 8 weekly sets of accessories for each muscle.
I don't like blanket statements.
Yeah.
No reason to ever. No, I don't agree with that. But I don't think that you need as much work as some people do.
Yeah. If they said like you can make, most lifters can make basically all the results off of 8 or less, I would agree.
Yeah.
Even for like curls, lateral raises, I would agree. But there are definitely some lifters, especially on smaller muscle groups or like bench, that like even like if I was just to give straight up just bodybuilding work really close to failure, could handle 8 sets of chest. For sure.
Yeah.
It's not most though.
Yeah, no, I get you. I don't know if I'm just a pussy, but I get beat up quick.
I can answer that. You are. You're not kidding.
But I get beat up quick. I feel like I generate fatigue pretty rapidly, and like my cardiovascular, like I'm in shape.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm obese.
You might be the most in shape powerlifter at gym.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But that being said, it's like I still generate fatigue really, really quickly. And after a set of, or like 2 hard sets of lat pull down, don't give me another back exercise. I might kill you.
No, I'm actually the same way though. Like I've been realizing that lately. I'm like, dude, I'm like, I almost don't detrain. And I don't think that's because I don't detrain. I think it's because I can respond to very little work. I think that's something I should lean into. So I stop getting injured. Like, bro, I can take like 2 weeks off the bench and I can come back and I'm at like the same point. I'll be like a little rusty, give another session, I'm back. I think that's very abnormal. But I can get away with that. I don't know. It's something I should lean into, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
I fatigue easy.
Do you, for your clients, do you ever give set ranges? Like, hey, do 2 sets, and if you feel good for another one, do another, or is it kind of just straight sets?
I'd probably only really do that if it's like an injury. Like I had someone the other day, had like a pec strain, and they're doing a workout, and I was like, you have 3 sets. If you do 1 and it's getting worse, just stop. If you can make it through all 3, sweet. You just did 1.
Gotcha.
But like, I wouldn't, if they're completely healthy and we have a good system down, like if I'm working with them for a little bit, then no. Occasionally, if I'm like, I'll let them know ahead of time, like, hey, if you're cooked on this deadlift day, just do 1 back off instead of 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
But generally, no. Do you?
It depends on my lifters. I kind of played the psychology of some of them. Some of them don't push very hard. So it's like after their second one, they have the energy and the ability to do a 3rd set. And I'm like, hey, you should probably lean into that because you don't push very hard. But I also have some lifters who I'll put a gun to their head and tell them to do another rep and they probably wouldn't be able to. So it just kind of depends on the lifter and how they approach it. And that's why I like to give ranges. And then some days you just have a bad day. So it's like take the 2 sets instead of 3.
Yeah. My issue would be, I feel like that would cause a lot of inconsistencies week to week, specifically for the lifters that would work really hard. So I guess that's why you wouldn't program it. Yeah. But I mean, some auto regulation is definitely good for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if like they have really horrible sleep or something. They have like some, like I have one kid that always, he's in like college, but they got some like PE stuff in college, and some days he's like, bro, they made me, like, it was not optional. I ran for 3 hours before this like day, and he was like, I might need to dial back some stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's probably smart. It should be good for your primary, but most cases, no. But I can see the utility sometimes.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Right on.
Especially for some lifters though, if it's like, do you do that on like SBD work often? Because like I think that'd be dangerous in SBD. Okay, your squat, you got a 3x5. Skip the last sets if you want. They'd be like, you got the like lifters that don't want to work hard. They'd be like, I skip them every week, coach.
I'll go back to what you said initially is injury. Like if they have an injury and they're coming back from that, I will give them the ability to call it quits early.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
dude, she's just passed out.
Right on.
This one's kind of interesting. Periodization literally doesn't matter.
Periodization matters in the sense that it keeps things fresh. Having blocks to push different things or put focus into different things keeps you mentally locked in. Whereas if you're like, here's the same thing that we've been doing for the last 4 months, go attack it the same way you've been doing it. Most people probably, well, I can't say most people, but that motivation slowly starts to dwindle.
Yeah. What if you have a lifter that is just locked in all the time? You're just like, we're running a 4-week block. We're running the same exact block forever. They just don't have any psychological issues. I do think you do that and get at least like 95% of the results. I do.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Finding what works and running it until it doesn't is what I do with a lot of my lifters. But I do have points of where they come to me, their feedback is just kind of flat. They're talking about how they're not enjoying training. That's when I'm like, all right, let's focus on a different goal, this block, and approach it from that standpoint rather than what we've been doing. That's where I run into the like, they say it doesn't matter. It's a blanket statement. I think it does. Yeah. It doesn't matter all the time though.
Yeah, I agree. Also, people always have different definitions of things in lifting. Like some people like, oh, like the programming is only weekly. And some people like periodization, that's how you change like your plan week to week to week. I would say that matters a ton. You can definitely run like a certain microcycle over and over and over. But then like, especially if it's fairly sub-max, like the week that you max, you're going to be cooked the next week. Like, should probably pull back a little bit. That would be classified as periodization to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could definitely give someone like a lifter that recovers really well. I've done in the past. It's like, dude, you max every Saturday. Like Ashton Ruska, he used to do in like 2021, just like a mock meet every single weekend.
Isn't it, oh shit, what's his name? Bilbo Swaggins.
John Hack.
John Hack. Doesn't he hit like an RG9 every week or something like that? It just goes up. So.
Literally, yeah. So you could definitely do that. People can recover from it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the best for athlete psychology? Definitely not. No. Definitely not. So many people are going to quit lifting when they come in 8 weeks in a row and don't hit a PR for 8 weeks. Yeah. But yeah, like you could get away with that. No such thing as general strength. So we didn't really know how to break this down.
I think general strength is just getting stronger through several different movements. I would say you start to get into specified strength, if you like specificity, when you start going towards the direction of, so in our sport, squat, bench, deadlift. I would say anything outside of squat, bench, deadlift is general strength. Yeah,
I agree. I definitely get that. Like some people are like, oh, like I don't want to do a big arch, weird bench. Like I'm just gonna train my bench with like a moderate grip and whatever, more like general strength, which I get their point, general strength. Nothing wrong with training the big arch stuff if you like it, but the shit transfers over way better. If you're like, it's not, if you have a lifter that has a ridiculous arch and they bench 500 and a flat back like Larson, they bench like way less. Like, yeah, obviously that's not actually as much strength, which is the issue. But like, have you seen Larry Wheels doing those like 90-degree handstand push-ups? Dude, he started training it, took him like 3 weeks, goes from a full handstand, like imagine upside down, goes all the way down, like feet aren't touching the ground, does like a push-up, like a planche push-up thing, goes back up to the handstand. Took him like 3 weeks to learn it at like 275.
That's absurd. I have not seen that.
I'll pull it up. It is crazy. It is one of the craziest things, like maybe one of the craziest strength feats I've ever seen. But it is ridiculous.
Are you saying that's like general strength?
Well, I'm saying like Larry doesn't do that stuff, and it translated shockingly well. Like, this guy's huge. Let me see if I can find it. He's posted a couple times lately. Come on, Larry, don't let me down, bro. We're mid-podcast. Crazy.
But no, this is the general strength. Like, I think if you were to take, so like specific strength, squat, bench, deadlift, it translates over. I had a coach try to tell one of my kids that his squat, bench, and deadlift isn't going to carry over to football. And I'm like, that's him crazy. Putting more force into a bar and being able to put more force into the bar year after year is not going to translate to the next football season. That makes zero sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, like there's more Oh, wait, here we go. Keep in mind, bro, it's like 275 pounds.
Hold up.
That is ridiculous. That's also like a really advanced calisthenics thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe not the most, but like find me another human doing this, bro. At this weight. Yeah. That is crazy. Also, I've seen videos of like gymnasts that only do bodyweight stuff, but like crazy advanced people, and they'll be like, "Oh, first time bench pressing," and they'll bench like pretty crazy weights,
Yeah.
really bad form. Like it carries over.
I've
There's way
seen
more
that. Yeah,
carryover.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
General strength is definitely.
Mhm.
They say it was overrated. What did they say about it?
So it doesn't exist, I think.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah, I
I'll
think
take
strength is strength.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that's not how they meant it, but strength is strength.
the
for
way
sure.
the way I took that, that's how I understand.
Like you're not going to get someone that squats a ton and then goes and can't do 2 plates on leg press, you know?
Yeah, no chance.
I will say though, if you're the football coach and you're like, if maybe you're like, we should do low bar squats for this reason, but if you're like, oh, like you added 30 pounds to your squat by doing low bar, you added another 30 by adding belt and sleeves, that's not going to carry over because that's not actually adding strength. I agree.
Yes.
But like if you get that low bar squat and add another 50 pounds, that carries over.
Yes, correct. This coach is an absolute asshole.
Yeah, as many are,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Let's talk about sub 400 dots lifters. In my opinions, they're just regular lifters, not power lifters. I'll let you start with this one.
I'm a very big advocate for getting people into the sport as soon as possible to see if they even like it.
Yeah.
So I've coached a lot of people who have sub 400 dots into powerlifting, and I would call them powerlifters because they have competed.
Yeah.
So sure, I get what they're saying. It's funny, but I also like give the younger lifters a chance to get into the sport and get stronger.
Yeah, I gotta be real. I think this is the worst take ever, bro. I think this is a horrendous take.
I get it.
I don't get it, bro. I don't get it. I don't. I feel like people get weird. People get way weirder in bodybuilding. People get so weird in bodybuilding. They're like, respect the stage. And they're like, bro, you're not a pro. You're just some weird, cringy dude that doesn't come in stagely and la. Like, and people like to think they're really cool. I think it's the same thing. I'm not trying to roast this guy. Maybe this is what he meant. But if this is what you meant, I am trying to roast you. I think it's just a horrible take. I think it's just like rude.
400. I guess the barrier to entry for a 400 dots seems very low to me because I think my
Let me pull up
first.
totals. You can keep talking.
I'm gonna look at my lifting cast or not lifting cast, but open powerlifting to make sure I'm right about this. But
I think there are a lot of lifters that are actually decent lifters at 400 dots though. Like few total.
You said sub 400, right?
Yes, but like my average athlete might be sub 400. They got a powerlifting coach. They might compete in meets. They take it very seriously. They might just be in your first year lifting.
Yeah.
You go your first year of basketball, you'd be like, you're not a basketball player, bro. You can't dunk yet. Like, bro might be like 16 years old.
Yeah. No, it's valid. I understand what you're saying.
Let me see. Okay, so you need a total.
Bro, my first powerlifting meet, I got a 396. So I wasn't quite a powerlifter.
That's tough.
But it's like if my first powerlifting meet was 396, that barrier to entry is very low.
Okay, so you need a total 1,400 as a 92 kilo lifter. A lot of dudes walk around 200 pounds. So you need to total 1,400.
Yeah, most people aren't doing that.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a horrible lifter if you're below that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's just a crazy rude take.
Yeah, it's ignorant.
Yeah. Also, I think a big aspect of that too is like there are definitely a lot of people. I think people shit on people. They could be working just as hard, and one person could genuinely get to a 500 dots easier than someone else get 400 dots because they're just
built for it.
They're just cracked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like they'll see. I mean, yeah, the average sub 400 dots lifter maybe doesn't work as hard as a 600 dots lifter for sure. But like, I don't know. I think a lot of people with good genetics just don't realize
they have good.
They got to 500 dots easier than someone else. Like, oh, bro, they're just not working hard. Yeah. Don't count yourself as a powerlifter. I'm so tough. But like the sub 400 dots lifter could be absolutely grinding.
Yeah. No, that's a valid take. I respect what you're saying.
Yeah. Nutrition doesn't need to be locked by a recent Perk podcast. I can't tell if he's joking or not. I can't tell if he's trying to like make it a joke. Like, because Perk's not like Perk is semi-locked in. I also think Perk should lock in way more. I'm sure Joe all the time is like, bro, please track your stuff. I think he said that on the podcast. Joe was like, please track more. Please track more.
He's a dad now, so I'm sure he's probably even less locked than what he's been before.
Well, dude, no. Listen to this. He said to get to his 800 kilo total, he was coaching himself. His nutrition's horrible. He said he'd eat like one time a day. He'd wake up, go train fasted, wait till like midnight, order Taco Bell. That's all he'd eat all day. Like, it's crazy. And then he's locked in his nutrition much more.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's like, it sounds like he's like 90% of the way there. And now he's totally like going to be like 900 kilos. Like it makes a difference because he said he got with his fiance and she's like, you need to lock in nutrition. And then he just like got to an 850 total, like a year after, just after a big plateau.
Shout out to her.
So it makes a difference.
No.
But I will say, if you're doing the bare minimum, it doesn't make as big of a difference as you'd think, probably. Well, you can get very far without super locked nutrition. I will say that.
Yes.
If you're doing the bare minimum. But objectively, I think perk would be a bit stronger if it was even more locked.
Yeah. I mean, going back to low hanging fruit, if it's the easiest thing to fix, dude, tracking your calories is not that hard.
No, I agree.
And eating well is not that hard.
Yeah. But also the thing for perk too is like, sounds like he's being mindful of protein. He's sitting where he needs to be relative to his class. He's making progress. Like he's doing enough to make progress. But there are definitely people like dude, Maddie, sometimes whenever she lift, bro, I'm like, how many proteins did you get today? She's like 20 grams. Like that's crazy. Like that's making a big difference. I also think it's a big difference that people don't notice. If you get like 0.5 grams per pound of body weight, you might be getting like 75% of the gains. So like week to week, you don't notice compared to getting a full gram. But like over the course of a year, that might be another 30 pounds in your total. That if you really care, is worth it. If not, like okay,
yeah.
Do the
I mean,
minimum.
at the end of the day, it's kind of like stacking pennies at that point.
Yeah,
they do add up over the span of a year, but day to day, you probably won't notice a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. Even advanced lifters can't tell 95% of the time how many reps they have left in the tank. I want your thoughts on this first, because when I initially read this question, I think I changed my opinion.
Read it again.
It's phrased really funny. So he basically is trying to say advanced lifters cannot tell how many reps they have left in the tank, like 95% of the time.
I think they're better at it than younger lifters. I don't think that they would be 100% correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I have weird thoughts on this because most of the time I can generally go into a set on squat, bench, deadlift and very, very, very accurately gauge my RPE. However, I think more of that isn't just like, oh, like I know my body super well. I think it's like, oh, my triple PR is 300 kilos. I feel better than that, and I'm trying to take 300 kilos for set of 4 today. My warm-ups move faster. The first rep move faster. I'm like, oh, 7 RPE, and then you do the rest of the set, and you're like pretty spot on. But I think more of it comes from just like being aware and like, oh, I feel better than last week. Last week I did this, versus just like you blindfolded or you just put a random weight on with me. You're like, all right, this is gonna be somewhere between a 3 rep max and a 12 rep max. Do 1 rep. Tell me the RP. I think I'd struggle a lot more because I don't know the weight.
Yeah, so you can't just use the metric of like bar speed or how it feels on your back. You're using previous sessions to base.
Yeah. I'd say as an advanced lifter, you probably use that more than anything. Like even warming up, like do you pull 4 reps and you get a really good idea where your top end is for the day, even though it's very max, because you go, oh, I could PR today. That moved better than it ever has before. Or you go, oh, that moved really bad this week, and last week I only pulled 270 and 8, so it's gonna be worse.
Yeah.
That's what I do personally.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Sumo is a valid lift in the same way that squat and bench can have a wider or narrower grip / stance.
I mean, we both pull sumo, so I feel like we're team sumo here. I don't think I've never had an issue with it. I think people just like to pick at it because why not?
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I think sumo looks different because the legs, people assume it's a different lift, but I mean, I do think it's the same as a squat thing. I do think it stands out more too, though, because generally people don't like. Pretty much everyone benches fairly wide for the most part. No one does super narrow, versus conventional is like as narrow as you can go, basically, versus pretty wide, so it looks different. But as long as there's no deadlift bar, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with it, but I've always pulled sumo since I've been 16. So I had a conventional arc and pulled like 120 pounds less than my top end on deadlift. So
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Dude, see, I cannot train conventional for like years. I come back for like 20 pounds more. I hate it though.
Yeah,
I always
no
look back to
chance.
sumo. I'm like, maybe something's gonna happen. It's just not.
There's no chance for me. But like I said, I've been hyper specific with sumo since I've been 16. So that's got to do something with it.
Yeah. We've talked about this before, but if they banned sumo, I think that'd be crazy, to be honest. If they banned sumo in the IPF though, what do you think would happen to the records in like lower weight classes? Like, how much do you think they'd change? Because I personally think at first they're a big difference. Like I've seen Joe Borenstein, like in the 83s, love pullers, like Anna, Joe, Ade, all those guys that are pulling like 820 or something. I think initially, like I've seen them train conventional off season, it would just drop a lot. And I do think a lot of those guys genuinely are quite a bit stronger sumo, just leverage wise. But I think the gap would close quicker than you'd think, because I think a lot of those guys are just so leveraged that they get really upright. So their sumo is a ton of like hip and everything, and they just kind of have neglected, like erector strength. So they'll train conventional for block and they'll be down a lot, but they still have cracked leverages for conventional. So if they're forced to train it for the same amount of time they've trained sumo, I think their back would be a lot stronger. And it's not necessarily like, yeah, it's a leverage thing. Maybe there generally is a 50-pound difference, but sometimes you'll see those guys in the stiff bar have like a 100-pound difference. I think that gap would close if they were forced to train conventional qualities. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just as if it got banned and they practiced it enough, it wouldn't be as big of a gap eventually.
I think the strength would build pretty quick.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. I think we just have one left. Hypertrophy is not that important for most lifters because they'll drop powerlifting in 3 to 5 years.
I don't know what this person was trying to get at, genuinely. I don't understand.
Okay. No offense, I think this is a horrendous take. So
Yeah.
You're probably a great person. Horrible take. So I think this gets some confusion because people are always like, oh, long term, this is probably such a phrase. I phrase it like this. I'm like, the biggest component of strength long term is how jacked you are, how much muscle you put on, which is true. But I think people get confused by that because they think of it because of its phrase so long term. But I'm like, the first year of your training, you put on the most muscle. You also put on the most strength. That's correlated,
Yes.
But the muscle you put on your first year, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna do some muscle building shit, like it doesn't wait till year 6 to work.
Yeah.
Like like you put on most of your muscle in your first 5 years of lifting, and that's also when your strength goes up the most. Your strength goes up the most because you're putting on the most muscle.
Yeah.
It doesn't just wait. If you have new contractile tissue, it's working.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, and I go back to viewing it from a general population as well. It's like having bigger muscles is going to carry you to a healthier life throughout the rest of your life. So it's like you're just going to neglect hypertrophy to get super strong. And granted, you can still put on, like, doing strength, you're going to put on more size.
Yeah.
But that being said, why would you neglect hypertrophy totally? Like, who doesn't like to get a pump, first off?
Yeah.
That shit's fun. That makes training more enjoyable. I would much rather go get a pump than lift heavy, if we're being completely honest. And so if you're just neglecting like the fun parts of training, there's so much more that you're also neglecting, like the benefits from that. But then, if you're not focusing on hypertrophy for the first 5 years of your training, that's what I think it goes from like 15 pounds your first year to, this is just random numbers, but 15 pounds your first year, 12 your second, and then it starts to dwindle off very quickly. And then by the time you're past 5 years, you're maybe gaining 3 pounds of muscle.
Yeah. I think the best way I can articulate it is not that the muscle helps in the long term. It's that over the course of your career, maybe early on, you just get good techniques you've never lifted, so it helps very fast. But like if you have buckets, the bucket that you can put like the most water in or whatever for muscle growth is just the biggest bucket, and the technique or like the neural efficiency especially bucket is just smaller, and you're simultaneously working on all of them. It's just you can just pull the hypertrophy lever for longer and more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I've listened to I think it's Adam Beeler, his podcast. I can't remember who it was with, but you'll listen to a lot of these coaches and they'll talk about how their progress for their athletes just stopped and they had to focus on hypertrophy for an extended period of time in order for their top end to go back up. Yeah. So it's like, to say that hypertrophy doesn't matter is absurd.
No, I agree. I also think they're way more correlated than people think on an individual to individual basis. I think people get confused when they look at like a Russ versus a Joe Morenstein, especially if they're like Joe objectively has just a way smaller chest than Russ, but benches more, even with like maybe similar arm length. I think a ton of that is super genetic. Yeah. And not just like, oh, Russ has a higher strength potential, because like Joe is objectively better at 83, even with less muscle and being taller. And if it was just muscle mass, like Russ's muscle mass is clearly less efficient and Joe's is more efficient. So Russ makes up for it with more muscle that Joe couldn't even put on in the first place, Yeah. But Joe was way more jacked when he was totally 800 kilos or 700, and same with Russ. But I think that confuses people. And then I also think, I don't even know, I think I lost my train of thought, but
like Russ with 5 more pounds of muscle would be stronger than Russ with 5 less pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you can't compare the Joe Borenstein to the Russ as like, oh, Joey has less muscle, Russ has more muscle, Joey can lift more. Like there's no, you can't really compare those two.
Yeah, you have to compare Joey to old Joey to new Joey.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think like no matter how he trains, Joey's never looking like Russ. And no matter how Russ trains, like Russ trains a very powerlifter these days. He's never going to be able to lift as much while being as small. No offense, Joey. Joey's still jacked, but as small as Joey. There's big genetic differences. I also think people like accessories are important, totally. But even if you just do only SBD, even if it's pretty sub-max, you're still gonna get, if you get really, really, really strong, you're still gonna be pretty damn jacked.
Yeah.
Like my best muscle groups are like all of my SBD muscles, which are strongest, even if for a long time I didn't do any accessories.
Well, I mean, I don't follow studies all that well or read them because I don't care. The studies are constantly changing. But hypertrophy is found in low rep schemes as well, like 3 to 5 reps, right?
Yeah.
So you're, even when you're not doing hypertrophy, you're doing strength, you're still getting a hypertrophic stimulus.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, it's still the main mechanism. You're getting stronger.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing sub-max squat volume, you know.
I'll take.
Sorry, bro. Okay, so open up some of my own.
Dan, you add to the list?
Bro, I got a ton. We don't have to go through all these.
Okay. We can make it. I might have to piss though.
You can go if you need.
Yeah, I got
All right. I'll carry the pod. I'll do something you probably don't want to talk about.
What's that?
I don't know. I'll try to find something. Or maybe I'll just pause it.
Close the door, keep guessing.
Okay. Actually, to be honest, you guys might want to just skip forward like a minute till he's done peeing because he's probably going to talk about these. So I'm going to just wait. And I'm also too lazy to edit the podcast. So I'm sorry. I'll try to find something. Common coaching mistakes I see. Yeah, okay, I'll do this one. I want to make a full video on this. I think a really common coaching mistake that I see is just doing a very top-down approach instead of a bottom-up approach. So basically the difference is a top-down approach is being like, okay, in my mind, I'm visualizing something. This makes up a good program. I'm going to give this to my athlete. Obviously, you have to start there. But a bottom-up approach would be like, I'm seeing this response and I'm able to change things in correspondence to what's happening in real time. And I think a lot of coaches, I'm talking about bottom-up versus top-down programming. I think a lot of coaches don't have an effective system of that. So they go, okay, I give it like a self-coach, like I did a high-volume program. Didn't work. Instead of like making a little tweak, they're like, all right, time to try a different program. Instead of this program, I'm gonna try a really low-volume program. Maybe it works better. Then that stops working. They're like, all right, well, time to try a high intensity program, whatever. Okay. That was just okay.
Well,
do you think there should be less? This is something I agree. Do you think there should be less classes in powerlifting?
less weight classes?
Yeah. Don't? Bro, I think we should have like 5.
Really?
Yeah. I think it would just force so much more competition. I think it'd be cool.
In that aspect, yes, because I feel like on a local level, competitive meets are not a thing. It's not very fun on the local level to compete. I don't even know if at the top level it's all that fun because it's like, you know, the winners before they go in for the most part.
But like, what do you think about a lot of classes aren't super competitive? Like 74 is not competitive. Perk just destroys everyone on openers. It's probably just a sport size thing, granted. Like 83s, fairly competitive, but like 93s, also they're competitive. But like if Perk or a lot of the 83s went up, I think the records would change a lot. And so I think if there's just such a big gap in weight classes, forcing like the 83s and 93s together would be pretty cool. I know that would cause some issues. You have like 40-pound differences in weight classes. I just think it'd be sick.
I get what you're saying. I think the more competitiveness would be a lot of fun to see.
I also think we should just scrap low weight classes. I think the lowest weight class should be like 70 kilos.
You're hating on the low weight.
I think it should be like, maybe not exactly this, like 70, 85, 100.
Well, 70 is 155.
Super.
The thought of a 155-pound man is like, for the women, yeah, cool, keep them, whatever. It's a little bit different. But 155-pound man, that's a small person.
Yeah, that's why that should be the smallest weight class.
Yeah. So to think that there's lower weight classes than that is...
Yeah. Especially because like 130-pound dude, like to be that short and also have the genetics to be cracked at powerlifting and like the right rim lengths or that short and stuff is just so far in between. I think no matter how popular the sport gets, that's always just going to be just not nearly as competitive and as good of a class.
Yeah. I think actually this could go a little bit deeper towards like the youth. I feel like a lot of youth athletes hold themselves to a weight class for a really long time, and I think it blunts progress.
I agree.
So if you don't have those lower weight classes and they have to get to 155 pounds, the growth that they can gain from building up to 155 pounds, I think it'd be significant, and it would also make better athletes in the long term.
I made a YouTube video with that like a year ago. Got like 30K views.
Never watched it, so
Yeah,
it wasn't one of those 30K.
Yeah, it was called like "Don't Compete in Powerlifting," and the idea was like you can compete in powerlifting,
Yeah.
but if you like tie yourself as a powerlifter to a weight class, you're gonna stunt your progress so hard.
Yeah,
I did that so bad.
Yep. Like I genuinely think Asante. Not
I know. I told him
shit on him, but I think he could have been lifting a lot more by now if he didn't gooseneck himself into 67.
Did you see my messages to him the other day?
I didn't.
Basically, that's exactly what I said. He's going down to like 66 now from 74. I'm like, bro is so lean too. Bro is peeled. I'm like, dog, I know it seems nice to be competitive, but long term, like based off your height, you should be at least an 83, if not like a 93.
Yeah. Well, then there's people like, I know, you know Calvin Manavong?
He goes to our gym?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've never talked to him.
So he moved up a weight class, and I don't think his numbers reflected that. I think he kind of complains about it. He's like, I went up a weight class and I'm still at the same numbers I was at 67. And I was like, that's unfortunate, and I don't know how that happens, but you know, maybe that is a real thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for some people. I think people respond to training, food, everything different. But like, was he sitting heavy before at 66?
I don't think so. I think he ate up into 74. Like, dude's way more jacked now.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro. Oh. Yeah, I mean, definitely people have a weight class to be best at. Like Asante, there's definitely guys that are, he said he's 5'8.5". There's definitely guys that are 5'8.5" that are like competitive 105s. Is Asante that guy? Probably not.
No. Yeah.
Or like Ashton Ruska is like a 105, and he's shorter than Asante, I'm pretty sure, at least his height.
He's all muscle. He is
exactly.
Or like a meatball.
Russ is like 5'5", 5'6", and could probably fill out 105 like pretty damn well. But like, yeah, that's not the case for everyone. But Asante just objectively is gonna have a hard time progressing for years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you.
Well, there's they always say that weight classes are just height classes for these guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Being 5'8", he should probably be 83 to 93, probably.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Yeah. I sound like such a fanboy. I've mentioned Joe like 5 times, bro, but Joe is like 5'8", and I told Asante, I was like, dude, he is like the tallest person in the class, and he blew up so much going 74 to 83. You are a little bit taller than Joe. You need to be at least an 83 like him. Maybe you're not that big of an outlier where you can be that tall. Maybe he can be. But like, if not a 93, I think he'd blow up, at least over the course of years, because he's so lean.
Yeah. And I think if we're staying specific to Asante, I think if he were to he has so much potential to gain a little bit more weight, and like if his joints were, if he had a little bit more fat, like he's so lean.
Yeah.
If he had a touch more fat, he would probably feel a little bit better. Like his knees probably wouldn't hurt as much. I know he's ran into a lot of knee issues, so he might be able to get past that with just a little bit more adipose tissue around those joints. But at the same time, I know people that are super lean like that like to stay super lean. So who am I to tell?
Also, he's never been heavy, so you just don't know.
Yeah.
I think about it like this. Like whenever I was like a 66, and I was like, dang, I can pull myself back to start this. I was like, well, if I gain 30 pounds and don't get any stronger, I could probably also cut back down 30 pounds and not lose any strength. So I feel like the risk is really small. But in my case, I just got a lot better at lifting.
Yeah.
But like him, he also is so lean in that class. I'm like, bro, that might be a sign that your body, like some people definitely just are going to have a hard time getting that lean, like especially like naturally. Your body's like, nah, bro, we're not trying to be peeled. And you're stopping on muscle. Like that might be a sign that you go up a weight class and go put on 20 pounds of muscle because your body clearly is not super against putting on muscle. And he's ridiculously strong for how much muscle he has.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's probably a good sign if he'd be that strong with that. Not that he's like tiny, that little muscle, quote unquote, for how strong he is. Probably not a 105, but like I also think it's a sign that he'd be sick. Like I think if he was kind of pudgy at his weight class and he was really strong, like yeah, bro, like I don't know, you might go up again and get just really fat.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that he's that lean, it'll help a lot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think if you were to put on, there's a range at which it would start to level off. I think if you put on 10 pounds, he'd probably do himself some good. 15 to 20, I don't think it would have positive effects after a certain point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know where that point is for myself, bro. Unlimited weight. Unlimited weight gain glitch.
You have been extreme in both directions. So
Yeah, I have. The unfortunate part is I just don't like food, bro. If I was just like a huge, I've been in like a slight deficit lately, and I've been like I have to be on top of my food to get in my calories. So I'm just like,
that's absurd.
I know.
I'm not that way. I'm at the end of my day, like grabbing or opening the cabinets, looking at what I can eat for like 5 calories. I'm like, I got 5 calories left. What can I waste it on? Yeah. Bad.
Also, Asante, I love you. No hard feelings. You're the GOAT. Oh, okay. I want to get your thoughts on this. It's kind of a prerequisite question. You know what the enhanced games are?
Yeah, kind of. We talked about this a little bit through messages, didn't we?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
You go first, and I'll add my.
I think I don't want to get into this too much, to be honest. I'm not trying to get destroyed in the comments. I think the enhanced games are a cool idea, but this is leading into there are obviously problems with this, but I think it would be cool if we just had one federation of powerlifting. Obviously, you got like you're not missing that many crazy untested lifters. It's mainly just like John, Colton, Kyle Curve, a couple other people. But I think it would be sick if there's no testing in powerlifting. My reasons being, I really don't want to get into this too much because a lot of my audience is very IPF. But my reasons being, testing IPF is absolutely horrendous. In the past like 6 years, only a handful of people have popped for testosterone. This is public knowledge. Anyone that's popping for anything else, unless they're a moron, because everything else is popping testosterone, is not. They're also running testosterone. So clearly, like the methods people are using, like epi tests, I think it's pretty expensive. Most people are probably just using like test no ester or stuff like that, are clearly working. I'm not saying everyone's on drugs. People like even if people are on drugs in IPF, the drugs are helping way less than in untested. And I know like that would be incentivizing using drugs, that blah, blah, blah. But I just think it'd be cool because you could unify powerlifting, and in like 5 of the weight classes, the tested side has the records anyway. And I just think it'd be really cool. Even if you look at like a John Hack or a Colton Engelbrecht, Colton would probably just dominate the 120s, to be honest. But even like John, he's like 102 kilos right now. He'll be competing at like 104 on water cut. If he was on a stiff bar competing at around 104, and Anthony McNaughton's there, I think their numbers would be very comparable. I think Anthony could go over 1,000. I think on a stiff bar, John's best meet is 10:45. I think John would be like around 10:20. I think that's what Anthony's about to do at Sheffield. I think it'd be way more comparable than people think.
Yeah. Do you think it would kind of ruffle feathers to have enhanced games because people would realize how small the gap is, and that would mean one of two things: that steroids don't help very much, or
there's a lot of cheating. Yeah, I think it would. I think about a lot of issues, and I don't know. You got a lot of issues with that because a lot of people from the enhanced games go over to the enhanced games, get better, and they're still like, nah, bro, I'm natting, which I think is suspicious. And again, I'm not claiming everyone in the IPF is on drugs. I think the testing is just really bad. But I do think it'd be cool. I think that's the biggest problem with the sport. And it would cause other problems for sure, but I think it would solve more than it wouldn't solve. Obviously, you'd get way better testing as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think the IPF wants to do that. It's the issue.
Yeah, no.
So I don't know.
There's much more to dig into on that.
I think it'd be cool though.
Yeah.
Just one fed. They would have to do like health screening before the enhanced skin does. They get doctors to make sure you're healthy enough. Yeah. Anything you're using, you have to get it. I don't know if this is actually even true. Like from a doctor or whatever. It has to be like FDA approved drugs. So there's like 4 drugs you can use.
Gotcha.
You have to make sure you're healthy enough. So like if you go to enhanced games, like bro, you're gonna be in kidney failure soon because you're using whatever. You can't compete. I think that would solve way more issues than not. But I know Clarence. You know Clarence Kennedy, right?
I don't.
Oh, you don't? He's a weightlifter. He made a video talking about why I think testing is unethical. I agree with most of his points.
Testing is unethical?
Yeah. He has like 2 hours of content. Basically, he says testing is very not effective. He lists a bunch of examples about just it not being effective. Like one of them is like in anonymous surveys in the Olympics, which is way, way, way more strict testing. 50% of the athletes admit to using banned PEDs, but they don't pop for them. Only like 1% of athletes pop. And it's just like in anonymous surveys, they admit to it. And he's like, the numbers are probably even higher because a lot of them are like, this is anonymous, but I'm not admitting to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just true. But he also goes into just like people being like, oh, well, then you're making the problem worse because then it's a bunch of unhealthy stuff. He says, no, because a lot of the stuff you have to use is even more unhealthy. Because like to avoid drug tests, people have to use less safe drugs, basically.
Yeah.
And you can watch the whole video. He talks about a ton of stuff. He also talks about what's the point? Okay. So he's basically saying testing makes it more unfair in some regards because the athletes that can pass the test are basically from like different countries with more money and that can help them pass the testing. Like in weightlifting, I think it's super obvious that countries like China and like, bro, they obviously have some government doping stuff going on. I think everyone knows that and they don't really pop. But a lot of other countries do, and China's also like dominating. And he goes into a lot of that stuff too. But I don't know. I don't think it has to happen. Powerlifting's pretty great how it is, but I think that'd be really interesting, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I get you. I agree.
Yeah. I'm gonna get hate on that for in the comments, but that's
probably. Oh well.
Commercial gym equipment, unless you're crazy strong, I think it makes almost no difference. I think you can weigh your plates. I think the deadlift can be different for sure. But I think on like squat and bench, commercial gym equipment, if you're not ridiculously strong or have a horrendous setup, I think you can be pretty much good.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to that general strength question that we had. Like if you get stronger on not comp specific stuff, it's going to translate to comp specific stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. How much farther do you think records can go in powerlifting? Because I've been seeing a lot of young athletes lately that I don't know how much of it is like they've just gotten in the sport earlier. It's more popular, better genetics, better coaching from early on is huge. But I think in some classes, like obviously the 93s go a lot farther compared to like someone like Perk, we're gonna have someone with Perk's genetics in the 93s eventually. I think they can go way farther, but like when do you think powerlifting is like, give me a year's timeline. If you look at track and field, you look at 100-meter dash, it's not progressing by a ridiculous amount year after year. It's like, what was the last record? Like 2012 or something. And whenever it's broken by like 0.01 seconds. When is powerlifting at that point? I think it'll be in our lifetime. I personally think it'll be in like 15, 20 years. I think it'll come sooner than we think because it's gained so much popularity. But I think it's gonna be a while still.
Yeah, no, I think because realistically, how much better can coaching get? I don't think that there's going to be some sort of study or anything as some sort of method that blows all these other methods out of the water to make people significantly stronger. I don't think that's happening. I think we're probably pretty close to as good as coaching as we can get. Someone has to have, top tier genetics in order to blow it out of the water. Like I think it just comes down to genetic pool. And as the sport gets more popular, I think once it hits its most popular is when you'll start to see it start dwindling after that, because then you have the biggest pool of people, the most genetics, the best genetics, and then it's just going to dwindle off after that.
I agree. What do you think about this? I don't know if this is true. This might be totally wrong. I heard someone at some point say, if you want to open powerlifting, the people that are competing 20 years ago, they were basically, the average lifter was just as strong. Powerlifting's just grown a ton. So there's more people up at a higher point, but the average lifter is just the same strength. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I think a good example is Ed Gillen, like 20 years ago. Very comparable, I would say, stats to John Hack.
Okay.
But he was just out totaling supers at the time. He was just, I think that is maybe just a case of someone with just insanely good genetics getting the sport early. And now we just have more of those people because it's way more popular. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think the coaching thing plays a huge role too. I think Ed was also really smart, probably, and had really good training for himself and just found stuff that worked for him. But I don't know. I buy into that a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never heard that, but I could agree.
Yeah. Because I think I'm probably gonna mess this up. But at the time at like 242, and he had similar numbers at 220, he did like over 900 on a stiff bar. And at the time too, what they did is it was like ascending weights. So like he just had to go out 3 times in a row, I believe, because he was just the heaviest deadlifter. So they're like, all right, 800, and then they load it. He'd have like 3 minutes. He'd have to go pull 850, and then 900.
Damn. Okay.
So that's obviously a ridiculous lift. I think his best bench in meet was like 560 or something. Squat, it's so tough with that because it was like single ply, but the single ply apparently like wasn't that good or whatever. But like in the gym, I know he did like beltless high bar, like an 800 double with like no sleeves, no belt, something like that, something crazy. But like his numbers are definitely like genuinely pretty comparable to Hack.
Yeah.
And you could also argue he was so far ahead of everyone, he probably would have pushed a little harder, figured something else out, stayed in the sport longer if there was a Hack around in his era.
Yeah.
So like
If you have competition.
yeah, if Hack like chips his record and whatever and is a little better of a lifter, he'd be like, yeah, well, if Ed was here now, he'd almost for sure be 50 pounds ahead of Hack.
Yeah.
I would argue, but I don't know, I love John. John's my favorite lifter, probably. So
Who knows, right? Like, I think you're right, but
yeah, bro, I did like 1,030 and on squat in
really,
yeah. He did like I think he even did like 1,000 at 220 or something. And yeah, single ply and all. I hate equipped lifting, but he was probably at the time squatting like definitely over 8. You know, like those are comparable numbers to John.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We talked about this other day, work capacity. Also, if you got to leave soon, that's fine.
no, I'm chilling. I'm good.
Okay. Work capacity. I don't know if you want to dive into that one again or not.
Oh, were we basically saying that work capacity doesn't always equate to top end strength or like 1 rep max strength is pretty much the point of that.
Yeah. Basically, just you can have perceived recovery, but if you're not getting stronger, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we don't have to dive too deep.
Yeah,
but that's pretty much the summary of it.
Okay, we have a take a lot that I'm on both sides of this where we talk about it and we do things very particularly in our own programming. We even differ because we maybe believe slightly different things in how we program. But at the same time, I think we both also are like, none of these variables matter that much. It's not that complicated. You can program in 1,000 different ways. If you get like semi basics right and know how to operate your own system, it doesn't really make a difference that much.
No, it's all about understanding how your system and fatigue play off of each other.
Yeah.
So if you usually manipulate a variable and you know how the fatigue pattern is going to work for that lifter, that's more important than where was I going with that? Completely lost my train of thought.
Dumbass.
Skip.
That was
We're
gonna
gonna pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But no, that was going somewhere, and I just completely.
I've done that like 5 times. So I was gonna relate this to variations. I don't think we've talked about that.
What about it?
I think variations give you such a tiny percentage. I think people put a ton of emphasis on them. I don't program a ton of variations. I definitely program them. I talked to Mike T. He definitely swayed me more to variations. But like, dude, the specific variation you pick, I think almost makes 0 difference. Like if you're like, I need to finish, I have lockout issues on bench. And whether you decide to do more push downs, whether you do chains, whether you do close grip, however you decide to tackle it, I think makes just such a tiny marginal difference. And it's worth putting thought into. Like I definitely do that. I'm not just like programming random shit for athletes. But I really think like there's just so many ways to tackle the same problem that are all extremely effective. And they all work so similarly. There's just no way to know which one was generally the best.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You can use one tool several different ways and it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Is there a best tool? Maybe. But I don't think you have to do it that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also have this thought too that's like, maybe my whole life I tried this sort of programming, then I stall, and you go, oh, okay. Well, I figured out how not to stall was to do lower intensity, more volume. But then even then, you can be like, yeah, well, maybe that only worked. Maybe I was doing this optimal, and then that just changed as I got stronger. And so I changed this method, but like maybe this is only best now. Like, there's just no way to know.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I don't think there's that big of a difference. Hence why so many people program so wildly different.
I think the way people can adapt, it's a moving target. And so you can only hit it for so long until you have to change something because that person starts to outpace your current model.
Yeah.
So it's like what you used to do, they start to generate too much fatigue to where that top end, they can no longer hit what they're supposed to be doing. So you have to manipulate a different variable than what you're usually
doing. You could
doing.
still manipulate like 5 variables and have a very similar rate of progress.
Yes.
Yeah. You have that take too. It's like if you're making any progress, you're likely fairly close to optimal.
Correct. Yeah. I think 5 like if you were to tell me I could put 5 pounds on my bench, 5 pounds on my squat and deadlift, block after block for a year, that's a lot of weight. That's 60 pounds a week.
Yeah.
That's 180 pounds on your total in a year. I'd kill for that shit.
Especially like you're pretty advanced lifter. You've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
If you're not going up a weight class, you're not starting PEDs, something like that. Dude, if you put, I don't even think it's realistic for you to put 5 pounds on your bench every block for a year. That's not how long. Like 5 pounds of block is just like the first sign of perceivable progress.
Yeah.
Like that could just be like a good night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. If you like make 5 pounds progress and you're not just brand new to the gym and having, if your training's consistent too, because if it's like all over the place week to week, like, yeah, you can make some programming changes. But if you're making perceivable progress and you're an advanced lifter, that's progress is the best you can do, probably.
Yeah. No, and I think when people see that, they're like, oh, I got 5 pounds, I need to push harder. Not the right thing to do. Or like, I think the idea that what you're doing, if it's working, you need to do harder because it's working is such a flawed way of thinking. Because if you're adapting, you're adapting. Don't switch it up, because that's when you start to hurt yourself. That's when other issues start to pop up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna do it again, bro. I'll mention Joe. Damn. He's just a good example. I think I think a lot of top lifters just like rely on their coach a ton, and Eck is super smart, so he'd be a good coach to rely on. But I think he's a very like intellectual lifter. I watch his YouTube videos. Makes
Joey
sense.
is?
Yeah. I think he's a very smart guy. Where a lot of athletes are just really good athletes. But if I look at his progress, it's a really good like reality check, especially as I get to be a better lifter. He'll go like usually like blocks of like 3, 2, 1. Sometimes he'll even go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, going to meet the top sets. And you'll look at it and he tries to hit like maybe like a 5 kilo squat PR each time and like a 5 kilo deadlift PR, maybe like a 2.5 kilo bench PR. And he usually hits, sometimes even only makes it 2.5. I'm like, that's not that much progress. You'd be like, am I even making progress block to block? You look at it over like a 3 block macro and you add it up for someone at his level, or even someone that's totaling 800 kilos or 83, trying to get to 900. And that's like, it adds a ton. Like imagine he goes from 900 to like, what would that be? 10, 12.5, like 50 kilos under total. Like that's almost not even realistic. From to go 900, 950, 950 to 1,000. Yeah. It's just like when you get to a certain point, progress is so slow.
And that's when you really need to embrace that progress is progress mindset.
Yeah. Like even if he went from 900 to 920 over the course of the year, and then 920 to 940 and 940, 960, like this dude is making the best progress in powerlifting. Yeah. But like block to block, most of those blocks aren't even PRs, or they are PRs, but relative to like 6 months ago, and it's a 2.5 kilo PR.
Or not even that, it just moves faster.
Yeah, like, literally. Yeah. Or just like a little more consistent. I think as I get more advanced too, I don't know if you think of this. I think a big sign of progress is just when you're at a certain point, I think everyone goes through it. You just kind of like make newbie gains, and then you get past that, and your training is just like really inconsistent. Like some days you come on your deadlift and you just like miss 80%. And you're like, bro, some days you feel really strong. I mean, it's all over the place. I think a huge sign of progress, or at least progress is going to come, is you just have really consistent training sessions. Your training just getting more dialed, and that results in progress. But yeah, that relates to our other take too of high level coaching. What is our take on that? I genuinely like.
So essentially, I think high level coaches are able to articulate what they know a lot better than some other coaches, and that's why they're high level coaches. But most of the time, it's like they don't know as much as they sound like they know. They're just able to explain it really well. They're able to kind of pick numbers, and what I mean by that, like percentages, they're able to throw percentages at you really quickly. So like if you have a question, they're like, well, you do this, and they can throw a number at you. I think the number is probably arbitrary. Like you don't need to know the exact number. You need to know kind of where to start, and then you introduce that stimulus, and then you just kind of see how the body reacts to that. I don't think trying to know everything or the reason behind everything is as important as these coaches make it out to be.
I agree. I think, and I've talked to a lot of coaches, really high level coaches, the highest level coaches, and I think they're all really smart and really good at what they do and super nice. So it's not a diss to any of them at all. I think it's more so that people go, this coach knows something that I don't know. They know some secret. I don't think that's the case at all. I think they do the exact same things, especially if like you consume a lot of their content. You know the exact same things. They're just better at applying it. Yeah, that's it. They just have way more practice. And I think people, honestly, it's not even top level coaches overcomplicating it. I think the average lifter at the average gym just overcomplicates it themselves. And they go, oh, like maybe what the top level coach is doing is actually way more simplistic than you are, you're just making mistakes by thinking it's deeper than it is. Like, I don't think a lot of coaching, I think can be difficult in practice, but I think the concepts are super simple.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There was something I wanted to add on to that. I think people think that going to a higher level coach is automatically going to yield results. But what I think is more important, what people should do, is find a coach that you enjoy talking to, that you enjoy as a person, and someone you trust in their thought process. And that'll take you further than any like flex or any nori, or like, I think those people are genuinely smart. But if you don't connect with your coach and have a good relationship, I don't think you're going to enjoy being coached. And I think it's probably going to end up more bad than good.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people just pick coaches too based off of like personality, who they like. Like, I have really, really good retention rates, as I'm sure you do. And you work with people for like a long time. And of course, like, progress is an important factor of that. But like, I'll even charge as much as certain other high level coaches that have way better rosters than me and just like lineups over time. People come with me, even if they came from a coach like that, and they stick with you because progress, sure, but you also give them more attention. You give them you talk to them more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just give them better like customer service or whatever.
Yep.
And I think that's a super important factor.
Yeah. And that, I know one of your questions was something like good coaches versus bad coaches. I think there's things that absolutely you can do that make you a bad coach, but I think it's more of a question of, are you a good fit for a coach or are you not? Because there's things like, I was coached by Luke Arrowwood, love him to death. I definitely didn't get the same response that I did from my first coach in terms of like not the conversation, but the feedback wasn't as good as what it was when I was with my first coach. But at that point in my lifting career, I didn't need that constant feedback, that constant reassurance, stuff like that. I just had him, I was more of he's like a big brother to me rather than a coach that I was paying more for. So I was like, yes, I'm paying less, I'm getting less, but I don't need that as a lifter right now. So it's like, as long as you're getting what you need out of your coach, I think that's a good coach. If you're not getting what you need, then I think for you, it's a bad coach.
Yeah, I agree. I even have some athletes that just differs, dude. They'll like send me their videos to no context. I'll give them like some feedback and we'll just like thumbs up my messages. And then some people want to talk to you all day and like both are fine. Just person to person. Sometimes I'm like, how much can you even like me, bro? We don't even talk like ever. But like, they're cool with that.
And sometimes that's what people need. You check on them once a week. They say, hey, everything's going good, life's great. Or they say everything's bad, life's terrible, and then you talk to them and they're like, thanks, I needed this. I'll send someone something, they just like won't reply, and I'm like, okay, and then just like see the form correction in their videos. You're like, oh, nice, cool, bro. But it makes you wonder. I'm like, does this person even like me? Are they even gonna stick around? And they stick around me for like a super long time. You're like, oh, surprising. But, that's why I love the coach-client relationship. It's so different for everybody.
Oh yeah, totally.
It makes coaching fun as well.
Yeah. What are prerequisites to be a coach? I get a lot of questions. I do Q&As. I always get questions about this in the story. People always ask me like, how strong do you have to be a coach?
I have always been a stay down till you come up type person. So there's a lot of young kids, and I'm not telling them not to coach, but it's like, you should kind of understand how your body works, then get into more, like start reading a little bit more, take on a few younger athletes. Like, I think it's a bad look when you've only been lifting for a year and you're like, DM me for coaching. And it's like, bro, you haven't even competed at powerlifting. You've helped your gym total. That's it. And I think the prerequisite should be, for me personally, I think if I were to compete in powerlifting, I want someone who powerlifts. So I think you should at least do a powerlifting meet. But like helping people for free, having those testimonials. I don't think you need a college degree. I don't have a college degree. I just have the type of tism that makes me fixate on lifting. Same. So that's what I've done. I've done it for 8 years now, and I haven't fallen out of love. So
I feel you. I feel like it's like double-edged sword here, because on one hand, it's like, even if you've been lifting for a year, if you're helping people for free that have never been to the gym before, you're going to be so valuable. Maybe they're paying you like $50. If it's worth it for $50 for them, they're gonna make progress on their own. So totally. But I think it comes, and like a lot of coaches aren't even super strong, Like Marcellus, very strong guy. But he coaches athletes that are way stronger than him, There's definitely different components there too. Just like genetics, but he's a better coach than his athletes are, even if they're stronger. So everything doesn't come down to that. I think it's more so like time in the gym. If you want to be a coach.
That's kind of what I meant by stay down until you come up. Like put your time in, put the effort in, and then start helping people.
I think a lot of people come at it. I think my only issues with it, people come at it wrong. I think you should come up like, oh, okay, I squat 405. I could help someone. I could help younger me / other people get to the 225 squat faster, the 315 squat faster. I think it's really valuable. But I think you should come at it from an approach when you're that early on. I've been lifting for a year of I'm trying to learn from this, and it's mutually beneficial for them because I help them, but also I don't know everything. I think a lot of people just do have the issues where they put themselves in the coach role, and I definitely did this. And you're not super sure of what you're doing when you're 17 years old. Yeah. But you like maybe assume because you're a coach, you're too much of an authority figure. I think that's negative for your coaching and your athletes. Yeah. And you got to be open to learning. I think that's a big issue. I think people, what's that thing called? There's some like curve. It's like some bell curve, but basically you see memes of it, and it's some like paradox or something. I can't remember. But it's like you start something, you're like, whoa, there's so much stuff I have to learn about this. And then you do it for a year and you go, I know everything.
And then you realize how much you don't know as you specialize in that thing. Yeah.
I think people fall victim to that a lot.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And then like even me as a coach, initially I felt some sort of like imposter syndrome because I was like, why the fuck do people want to come to me? I know there's so many people that are so much stronger and I don't know everything. But at this point I had listened to like hundreds of hours of podcasts. I had read books on it, done all that. And I'm like, why would someone choose me? It's still at that point. So it's a little bit, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. Even like 6 months ago, I feel like my coaching's done so much better. Like I have a way better idea of what I'm doing because you can listen to all the podcasts and that gives you like helpful hints of what to try first with athletes. But at the same time, like you just need the experience. Yeah. It guides you in the right direction, but then you get the experience and it makes more sense. But yeah, still.
I was very lucky. I had some kids from back home that first started with me. It was like 4 teenage kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, just let me coach you. I just want to help. And I would just essentially try everything that I'd heard. I would watch a video on open powerlifting and I'd apply it and I'd be like, well, that didn't fucking work.
See, this is what I do. I'd like you try something and then it wouldn't work and you just try something drastically different. I'm like, oh, that didn't work. Time to like completely change everything. Because it was almost like, this is like years ago. I was like almost trying to figure out how training works, not to figure out what works for the athlete. Yeah. I just didn't know. You know what I mean? You go down different phases of like more is better always. That's not working. This must be the magical variation that I have to do. Maybe this will work. And then eventually you're like, oh wait, okay, I kind of have a concept of how all these variables fit together. And then like we're both at a point now where you know how that works and you individualize the athlete, not like how does training work? Oh my gosh, what do I do for these athletes?
No, I remember at one point, I was like, I'm gonna start out with a 4x3. And then as the block progressed, I was like 6x3, 8x3, 10x3, just to volumize in a different way. So rather than upping the rep count, you just up your sets. And ended up giving pretty much all my athletes tendonitis. It was a bad test. And I was like, well, that doesn't work. I'm not gonna ever do that again. Not to say it couldn't work, just the way that I applied it didn't work. But I have tried it for myself and it did work and it was fun and it was different and different strokes for different folks. But that was a interesting time period in my coaching.
No, dude, I had that too. And I was like, this is like years ago when I first took on athletes and I would charge like $10 a week, bro, like years ago. It's like local athletes, that went to my gym. And like they all make really good progress. And I was fairly strong at the time. So like the stuff I was doing wasn't so bad. It was better than what they were currently doing. So they made progress. But like, especially initially when I started working with them, I'd be like, well, that didn't work. And then I'd hear like a podcast and they'd be like, bro, leg extensions are sick. Do more leg extensions. I'm like, all right, 5x10 leg extensions 3 times a week. And you do that. And then after a block, you're like, well, that didn't really work. Let's try something way different again. And then thankfully got out of that phase. But I was in that phase. I feel like everyone's in that phase for like years.
Do you have kind of a programming structure that you start out with? And then as you get to know the individual a little bit more, that's when you start to, so it's almost like not a cookie cutter by any means, but it's almost like a skeleton that you
Mhm.
plug and play different
Yeah.
things. And then as you get to know them, that's when you can manipulate those variables a little bit harder.
Yeah, I would have like a skeleton in mind, I guess, and then I would individualize it, obviously initially, more so honestly just set counts in the split when someone starts working with me based off their prior training history. Like if someone barely has done anything ever, I'm like, you could probably do more. We'll start on the low side, or vice versa. And then if they're very strong, obviously a little less, that kind of thing. But definitely there's like a skeleton in mind. And then most of the individualization comes based on their training response. So yeah, that's same for you.
Yeah. I think I start off pretty, not similar. Well, I guess I'll say similar for a lot of people. And then as that first month goes, that's when a lot of changes start happening, because that's when I can realize kind of how they are as a lifter.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to go into it and put too much effort into the first, this is going to sound bad, but don't like to put a lot of effort into the first program, because I'll think I have it all figured out. I'm like,
Do not hire this guy. No, I'm kidding.
I think I have it all figured out based off of the conversations that we've had and looking at their squat, bench, and deadlift. And I'm like, this is the program that's going to work. And then after the first week, they're like, I'm chopped.
Dude, I was
I'm
the
like,
same thing.
Fuck, now I got to go back through this program that I thought was perfect. And I got to manipulate all these variables based on what you're telling me. And I should have just kind of started a little bit less and then implemented more things as I went. So that's something I've kind of changed as a coach.
Dude, same. Whenever I first started coaching, like an athlete, I'm like, based on their training, I'd read into it so dialed. And like the thing too is that most people, like, they're not even like following a program, or they say they are, and they just skip half the shit every week. And sometimes they just max. It's like all over the place. So you can't read into it too much. Even if you do, you try to craft the perfect program. You spend 5 hours, that week one hits, and it just bro, you gotta change it so much. Like you can't craft a perfect program based on their training history. Like put all your effort into it as best as you can. There came a certain point where I was like, I need to start with something that's the best I can, but I'm reading into things too deep and trying to find data that's not there. And it doesn't matter. It almost makes it worse. You're just trying to get too top down, you know, where they hit the first week and they just get absolutely cooked. You're like, oh, well, okay. And then you change it. And I've gotten better at that, but yeah, you can just read into things too much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't know if I was the only one that did that.
No, that's so true. And now I set up a program and it takes me like a third of the time that it used to. Also, I think a big part of that too is like, not that my coaching quality is down, because my coaching quality is substantially up, but I think like you get your first athlete and you're just like so nervous that you set out a program and then you get super neurotic and you're like, oh no, what if I need to change this actually? What if like 3s are better than 2s on this day? And like just like the tiniest details, and you're like, bro, it's like chill.
Yeah. No, totally agree.
Also, I want to write out my framework for you sometime. I'd be very interested. I have like a skeleton thing. I want to see your ideas on it, but I'll do like 1 or 2 more, and then we can end this. Honesty. We've gone through a lot. Last 2, I think it's kind of quick. How to be a good athlete. I'll say like 2 ideas first. I'll let you go. Big thing. I think you got to realize you're plateaued. A lot of people come to you because they're plateaued and they need someone with more experience. So they want help. They go to you. I think it's twofold. 1, coaches, a lot of the changes they're making are based off not just your lifting, but also your feedback. I think a lot of times people get into this habit of like, there's definitely like a decent amount of lifters. So like, I can't have bad days in their head. They need to like brainwash themselves and be like, everything was so great. And they'll inject it. You watch it and like, that was supposed to be like an RP6. Last week, that was an RP6. This week, it was like an RP9. Like, I felt so good, coach. They're like lying to themselves.
Yeah.
You're like, this is not helpful. Like, it's okay to admit you didn't have the best training session. That helps us adjust it. And like kind of the other type of lifter is like feedback is really good. They almost try to give you too much feedback where they worry about the wrong things. And you're like getting paranoid over this. That's nothing. Or also just giving too much feedback. Like you just have to let your coach. You came to them because they have more experience. You just have to trust it. Yeah. But what do you think?
So what was the initial, like,
how to be a good athlete or just bad athlete traits? How to be a good or bad athlete?
How to be a good athlete is trust. You came to your coach for a reason. So if they're doing something that you don't usually do, just trust it.
Yeah.
And I think that looks like trusting it for an extended period of time as well. Because initially it might not work. You know, that's, you have as a coach this kind of adaptation period between your athlete and you to where you're trying to figure out what works for them. And so if you're after a block, if you're not where you want to be, you came to that coach for a reason. Keep trusting them.
Yeah.
You will get to where you need to go, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So I think the biggest one for good or bad athlete is trust. Because if you're a bad athlete, you don't trust your coach. Obviously.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It kind of relates to our last point too. Whenever I first started coaching, like years ago, I could work with an athlete for like 6 months and get to the end of it and be like, I don't know, like the golden microcycle or whatever for them, Not that I believe in that term super hard, but like I'd be like, I don't know. It's better than it was. We got a better training response, but I wouldn't have it very dialed. And then maybe even like a year ago, I'd coach and I'd be like, okay, I work with someone for like 3 blocks. And then we have a really good framework for what works for them, and we can just like run it repeatedly. Versus now, it depends on the athlete. Some athletes have a weird training response. Maybe it does take 3 blocks. But like a lot of my athletes now, I can start them off at a really good point. And it, like by the end of the first block, like 2 of the lifts on block 2 are like, we basically know what to run. Maybe like 1 adjustment. But I think that's a big aspect of coaching too, just from experience. You know where to start people better. You know how to adjust things better and what to adjust. And like now, like, dude, it's so fun. We'll run like 1 block and block 2. I'm like, let's go. I'm some audio message. I'm like, bro, I'm pretty sure we got this down. We'll finish block 2 and like 2 of the lifts just run perfectly the whole block.
Yeah. Are you there, Keaton, yet?
No, bro. He keeps having things come up.
Yeah, he just got sick.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to scrap the whole block, bro. He got so sick. He had to skip a bunch of workouts, and then he came back and was cooked.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
But he was going way better. We're only 3 weeks in.
Yeah, that low bar was looking good.
His low bar was looking great. His deadlift was going well. That workout I did with you. His bench was looking the best it has. We changed some technique things. Then super sick in week 4.
So. Unfortunate. It's such an unfortunate week to get sick.
I know, bro.
We're all that momentum gone.
Yeah, we're just scrapping it.
Yep.
He worked up to like 405 yesterday on squat and deadlift on his first day back, and he's like, I gotta call it there, bro. I'm coasting. And I'm like back to square one, bro. We have much better data on him though.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. You could probably rerun the whole block and it would be
pretty much. Yeah.
What was the last one?
Last question. I don't know. Oh, science-based lifting. I just want to say this real quick. Every lifter is a science-based lifter, because if you're doing something, if you're not looking at studies to determine it, and it's working because of science, even if the current literature is wrong on it, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's super common, where I'm the most pro-science person ever for that reason. But I think the issue is that lifters in the first year get into it. They don't have experience. They go, oh, this must be the case. But everyone else has been lifting for like 10 years. It's like, no, bro, trust me. Like, that's just a poorly done study. That's not accurate, or it doesn't make that big of a difference. And there's nuance to it. Especially with like the rep thing. I just don't buy into the rep thing at all. The fatigue, the rep thing. Like, higher reps are crazy fatiguing. I think it makes sense in theory. So I do try to bias stuff towards that. But I'm like, bro, I've done like sets of 20 on push downs versus lower reps. And like my set counts week to week, I make basically the exact same progress, even though I just changed my back offs from, like, if I'm doing like a set of like 6 and then a set of like 2 sets of 6 versus I do like a set of 6 and then I do sets of like 25. Like, bro, I come the next week, same progress, makes basically no difference.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It just comes, like, I don't want to do 25 reps of anything at the end of the day. So I'm going to try to keep my reps a little bit lower. I think that just comes down to like buy-in. Do you have an athlete who wants to do the higher reps? But it's
I heard, I'll finish off of this, but heard Sheether, that guy, 4 or 5 overhead rep guy, Sam Sheether.
Okay.
He basically said a thing. He says a lot of the problem stems from how you should make up lifting theories. It's like, we have a lot of people that are lifting. Like, you can look at powerlifters that are really strong, bodybuilders are really strong. How they train seems to work. Let's look at similarities. You get like 10 similarities, and then you try them out yourself. You go, for me, this one seems to work, and this one seems to work. And then you can base theories off of that versus just like completely from an outside view being like, I think this helps muscle growth, but it's just like some random made up theory that doesn't actually pan out in the real world. I think people get attached to those too easy. And it's kind of like the anecdote kind of does have to come before a lot of the theories, if you want a really good theory that stands the test of time.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think with everybody's their own science experiment. And so if something works for you, just like stick to it. If you like 6 reps versus 25 reps, both will probably get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
But what are you more invested in yourself? Like, I like to play the mentality of the lifter a lot. And so I think that's more important than the actual rep count, if that's what we're sticking with. So I'm going to play the psychology of the lifter and play into the things that they enjoy doing.
Mhm.
If they really like hitting PRs at 25 reps, for the love of God, I'm going to give them 25 reps. Cool. You know, get your pump, have fun with it.
Yeah.
If you like your 6 reps, me too. I'll give you those too, you know?
Yeah.
So
I also think there's a big factor too of like, if like I'm all for making training improvements and getting better, because like who doesn't want to see Ronnie Coleman, but even better, or like Colton Engelbrecht or whatever. For sure, everyone can improve, and I'm so super pro that. But I think a lot of people, it's the people that go to the science-based lifting super hard are like really, really early on because they're not making progress. They go, oh, this weird exercise that I just made up, no one's ever done, or this rep range or this, like that's never held back anyone ever from becoming an IFBB pro or top level powerlifter because no one trains like that and ever has. So if you're limited by that, you either have the worst genetics in the entire world, which probably not, or you're just really fucking up the basics.
yeah, I think science-based lifting gets a lot of hate because you see these scrawny ass kids doing these absurd movements that people, I don't know, the fitness community is not very supportive in general. So then you have a bunch of people going at each other's necks.
Yeah.
And so it just gets a lot of hate because there's so much controversy around it. To where like science-based lifting is made a joke. And so
yeah, it gets taken too far.
It gets taken too far. Yeah. The far right of the science-based lifters make it bad.
Have you noticed that it was like big creators came out and were like, do this, it's science-based lifting, and then like smaller creators and like just the kids started like taking it even farther, and now all the top creators are like, I am not a part of science-based lifting anymore. This is stupid. You guys are taking it too far. Yeah. All right. Well, I know you got to go. I want to tell people where they can find you.
T James Fender on Instagram. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't have a Facebook or anything. So
sweet. Thanks, guys. Hope we didn't go too long.